Hey, hi everybody. So the other session ran over by 5 minutes, but we've tried to sort of technically manage this. And, that pretty much sort of sums up our panel discussions and sessions for both the days. There's a lot of takeaway, there's a lot to do, but that's not where we're going to stop, because now it's time to commit to these action areas. And for that, I want to request Radha Mukherjee, founder and CEO of Shiro Consulting, and Francois, managing and creative director of Graffiti. Both of them are inspiring members of the TalentNomics India's Advisory Council, and a lot of credit for the conference name, the concept, the logos go to both of them. So I'm going to let them lead the manifesto for change and leave it to them. Radha and Francois, over to both of you.
Thank you, Anish. Hello, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Francois Bourgoin, Managing Director and Creative Director both of Graffiti DB. Francois is based in Bahrain. My association with Francois goes back, I think, almost 25 years. And I feel privileged because he's one of the most energizing creative people I've ever worked with. He's a brilliant planner, a branding expert, creative designer, all rolled in one. In fact, he's the beautiful Equiverse, Universe to Equiverse conference logo was designed by him as well. But what is even more special and more relevant about Francois for today is that he is perhaps one of the most staunch feminists I have come across, who genuinely believes that the world would be a better place once feminine power is unleashed. And these with Francois have never been empty words. I've seen him live by what he stands for and push his ideas. He and I are fortunate to be on the TalentNomics Advisory Council, working closely with Ipsita and her team, trying to do our little bit to start ripples. Francois, you want to say something?
Radha, thank you so much for your very kind words and your introduction. Radha is not only a very good friend, but she's also founder and CEO of Shiro Consulting Services, and she specializes in coaching women leaders. Prior to that, Radha was a seasoned advertising and communication professional, and she most successfully ran several agencies, particularly in the Middle East. And I have enjoyed working with her for over 20 years, first within the DDB network and then as an independent consultant, and now as a fellow TalentNomics Advisory Council member. Radha is not just a seasoned, but also an amazing communication professional, a great strategic planner and a terrific CEO who's always beautifully mastered the art of infusing her inspiring leadership style with kindness, empathy, and most importantly, a brilliant sense of humor. So it's always been a real pleasure and a very constructive experience to work with Radha, and I'm glad we're able to continue so today and onwards.
Thank you, Francois. That was very kind. I'm very touched. These two days have been wonderful, and they've been positively uplifting. I mean, we've heard such inspiring people share their stories on this platform. And as we come to the end, at the core of all our deliberations is that the equi of Equiverse is not about equality in numbers or positions, but equal representation for greater good, for a better world, and a sustainable planet for future generations. This is urgent and a collective responsibility of men, women, governments, private enterprises, institutions, and we don't have 100 years. Our time really starts now. And so first, to set the tone, Francois, would you like to share that beautiful visual representation of the Equiverse as the closing manifesto of this conference?
Sure. You have it here in front of your eyes. The story behind this is that TalentNomics teamed up with Beat Freaks in the UK and asked quite a number of people across the world how they would qualify an Equiverse. And out of this sort of survey, if you will, came out a number of really inspiring words to describe what an Equiverse is. And obviously you can see for yourself, words like comfortable, innovative, rejuvenating, safe, happiness, empowerment, respect, learning, organic, natural, so many words that actually go way beyond just a gender equality and gender equity, and really seem to form the prospect of a brilliant new world. And we thought this was really nicely portrayed in this visual, which will mark the sort of outcome of this conference, and really is hopefully an inspiration for the future and for what is in store with an Equiverse.
Yeah, it really is beautiful, and I think they say a picture can say more than 1,000 words, and that is really evident in this. But Francois, since I have spoken about the feminist, the strong feminist in you, may I unleash it now and ask you what your big picture for the world is?
Well, I would call it perhaps a bit more of a rant than a big picture. I am rebellious at heart, and this is probably what drives me most. But looking at everything that we've talked about over the past 2 days, and the time I've devoted to this question, giving women equal opportunity is one thing for sure. And my observation is that far too often the price women have to pay for this is to put their gender specificities aside and sort of contortion themselves into a male mold, one by which they have to play by men's rules, one where we talked about it a lot over the past few days, one where menstruation and menopause and pregnancy, maternity, motherhood, and so many other aspects of a woman's life remain very serious and very real impediments to a genuine equality of opportunity and voice, when really they shouldn't. Of course, we should and we must seek to provide women a truly equal space, a truly equal voice, equal rights, an equal share of choice, and also an equal share of responsibility. But in doing so, we must also provide an environment that not only respects and accommodates this womanness, for lack of a better word, but even more so values it, welcomes it, and even celebrates it as a beautiful and phenomenal agent of sustainable change for a better world. To me, only then will we be able to call it an Equiverse. But doing so is not just implementing social change, it's a monumental task. It is really bringing about a radical, fundamental, and global paradigm shift. A shift from a fiercely competitive and conflictual mindset to a kind and collaborative one. And this is, needless to say, a major, major shift, one that challenges most of everything that defines what we call civilization. Over the past few millennia, we have built ourselves as an unquestionable benchmark, a mindset and a social system based on power, profit, and egocentric competition. From a very early age, we, and I mean by we, especially boys, are taught to be competitive, to win, to come out on top each and every time, no matter the costs. We shall never surrender, they said. Quitters are losers. And then on the contrary, way too many girls still in the world are taught to step aside, to be shadows, to not even dare stand up and compete, and just do as they're told. The problem with this little game is that to every winner is always and unavoidably anywhere from 1 to potentially billions of losers. And the result of this mindset is now staring us in the face. We have men versus women, rich versus poor, North against the South, East and West squaring off, majorities clashing with minorities, progress, dear progress at the cost of nature, and then profit, of course. profit versus everything, versus people, planet, humanity, and so on. And we're finally learning the hard way that there are actually no long-term winners in this game.
Okay.
To me, an Equiverse has to hold the potential for this fundamental paradigm shift, where collaboration and harmony will gently replace competition and conflict, where we replaces I, where, as Jaspreet and Auden shared in their beautiful poem yesterday, where we transmute love from hate, where peace and respect and care replace greed and dominance, where progress and wealth are measured in terms of what is good for all humans, animals, plants, and planets, heart, body, and soul, and no longer just in terms of power and money. I know most of you will say, you know, that's not how politics and how the economy and how the corporate world works, but at the risk of being stupidly naive and ambitious, which I am, I'd say that maybe this is something we should also look into. Like him or not, someone like Elon Musk set a fine example a few years back when he waived all patents on the Tesla technology, making them freely available to anyone in the world for the better good of the world. For my part, I'd like to believe that women, kept silent for so long, have it in them and much more actually to make this happen. For as long, of course, as achieving gender equality doesn't come at the cost of keeping that inner feminine magic reined in, but on the contrary, is the trigger to unleash it upon a world in desperate need of it. When she took office as the first ever female speaker of the US House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi had this to say. She said, maybe it will take a woman to clean up the house. I think these words times 3.9 billion women in the world may be truer and more urgent today than they've ever been. So all I have to say now is, ladies and girls, we need you and we need your help. That was my bit.
Bravo, Francois. Bravo, Francois. Thank you. Thank you for painting such a vivid picture and inspiring us to do more. In the spirit of the Equiverse, I thought it was very fitting also that this comes from a man who feels so passionately for the cause. And I'd like to say this, may your tribe not just grow, but increase exponentially. The world needs that. So let me just summarize all that I have. I mean, there's been a lot over the last 2 days, but let me summarize all that I have taken in over these days and end with, you know, my hope for the Equiverse that we build together that goes beyond the gender balance issue, because you know, that's not the end. It's only the means to the end. And what is that end? What is that beautiful world that we want to create? The way I see it, a world where conflict is replaced with collaboration, collaboration between the East and West, rich and poor, as Francois beautifully elaborated, where problems are resolved respectfully and with dialogue, where human rights and amenities are not the prerogative of a few, where ideas are selected on the greater need they serve rather than profit, where purpose comes before profit for every enterprise, where family is acknowledged as the core and not the constraint at work, where differences and diversity are cherished and celebrated. The list could go on, but there's one thing on which we all agree, and that is there's a lot to be done and no time. So what are the little things we can each start doing from today in our own little worlds towards this beautiful world that we want to create for our children and their children? Each of us here is an influencer we each have a wide sphere of influence and can take a pledge today to start a ripple. So let me begin with my pledge. And, like I said, it doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't have to be a New Year grand resolution, because grand resolutions, we all know, don't happen. So start with something small. So one thing that I'm going to do starting from today is I'm going to call out and seek to correct behaviors and beliefs that don't belong in an Equiverse. It could be for something as small as insensitive gender jokes or forwards that we all get on WhatsApp and we ignore or laugh and move on. So my little pledge is I'm not going to just move on. I'm going to do something about it. Francois, what about your pledge?
Well, thank you, Radha. I think my pledge will be to continue the path I have started over well over a decade, to try and inspire as many women as I can to really cherish and trust in their inner feminine potential, and not just seek to be part of our patriarchal world and blend in, but rather to bring in the difference that is part of their inner feminine magic, and to unleash it with pride and with confidence rather than hide it into a world that badly needs it.
And to all of you present here, please tell us the one thing that you will do differently, whether it's at your workplace or at home, to contribute towards building the Equiverse that we all dream of. And it would be wonderful if you can share your pledge in the Q&A, and Anish will pass them on to us. But in the meanwhile, I would, it's only fitting that we bring the inspiring founder of TalentNomics India, Ipsita Katuria, into this to share her dream of an Equiverse. Ipsita, maybe you can do that in verse.
Thank you so much, Radha. I will do it in verse, but first of all, I'm just seeping in all that Francois and you said, and dreaming of this beautiful, beautiful Equiverse, the green world with happy, diverse people, peacefully coexisting, collaborating with each other. What a beautiful world that is. But we are so far away from there currently. As Francois very rightly said, and I really believe the current state of affairs with the pandemic, the pollution, the patriarchy, the profit focus, and the power structure, all the P's here, they're all interrelated. And I do believe they all arise out of the current state of imbalance in the world. So when I started TalentNomics, it started with the thing of gender balance, bringing about gender balance because it's a good thing to do, it's a just thing to do, and it's good for the economy and all. But as I'm growing with TalentNomics, as I'm delving more and more into it, I see what a huge impact this could have for a sustainable world. It is lies in it's underlying or a lot of the imbalance that we see around us. So on our part, Radha and Francois, as you all know, as you have been co-conspirators and co-travelers on this journey with me, we have been in the last 5 years growing organically. We have tried to impact lives of, build women leaders. We've impacted probably 100+ women leaders out there. And I hope over the next 5 to 7 years, we will see many of them in the boardrooms and in the C-suites of organizations. So that way, yes, we are adding to gender equity, gender parity, maybe at the leadership. But what I also hope and what my dream is, and I think it will happen, is each of them also become ripple creators. Each of them also strive towards this sustainable world that we are dreaming about, that Equiverse that we are talking about. And not only just one Radha and Francois and Ipsita are working towards it, but we create these ripple makers who will each help us move closer and closer towards this new Equiverse that we are talking about. So we have, of course, had dialogues with thousands of men and women through conferences like this and through other forums. And we've, like in this conference you did, Radha, we've been asking people to make that one pledge that they will do differently to bring about this Equiverse. And we've had maybe more than 2,000 such pledges happening. And hopefully, you know, these are also change makers in the ecosystem who are bringing about this new world. But going forward, we want to enhance the momentum of this change. We want to become the heart of the ripple. We want to collaborate with many more hearts who want to create these kind of ripple, not just be the single ripple creator in our world, but really work with many change makers, many ripple creators, so that together it can become a huge wave of change that we generate in the system. And how can we do it? Francois rightly said, through collaboration. We look for any change makers, any collaborators, men, women, children, students who want to work towards this new world that we are all dreaming about. Collaborated with them, use technology, use new innovative product practices that we hope to roll out over the next 5 to 6 years, so that this change, we do not have to wait for another 100 years, as somebody was saying, for seeing gender equity. We stop riding the bicycle, as Nadia said yesterday, and move on to that fast train where we can bring about the change in the world. And in line with this vision of ours, we are rebranding ourselves. We come up with a new logo, which again, I have to say, Francois has been the inspiration and the creator of this new logo. And can we have that on the screen, please? Yeah. So this is going to be our new logo going forward. And we want to be seen as the ripple creators, the ripples of change that we will create over the next few years to bring about this change. And as you can see there, you know, there's harmony there, there's the heart of the ripple, there are support and collaboration, each ripple starting new ripples and bringing about this big, huge change that we want to see in the world. And going forward, we have also now tried to look at and revamp our current website, because we want this new aspiration, this new dream of the world to reflect in who we are. And who we are, a lot of people get to know through the website and through what we put out there. So here is going to be our new website. It's going to be launched early next year sometime. It's work in progress, but this is where you see that we are our dream and aspiration for the new Equiverse. And I want to read out this little poetry which has been written by a friend of mine from school days. And she is an author, she is a poet, and she's written many, many books. And just listen to what she has to say when I told her, what's your dream of an Equiverse? And she put this down. I didn't know that to be a woman is to be not she, not free, but something allowed by man, less than a part of his plan. I do know, though, that to be a man, there needs to be a she, to give him birth, to protect and feed him, be his goddess on earth. So this present universe needs to be an Equiverse. She a complement to he a complement to she. Then the human race will be in place, free of he rules she and she fights he. The best of both are we. How beautifully she's depicted the Equiverse that we want to see in the world. So the website is, you know, lists down our aspirations, our dream. It invites all of you who want to aspire to see a gender equal world, who want to be a part of this contribution to this more sustainable world. We want partnership with everybody who is wanting to see a difference, whether you are an organization leader or you are a potential woman leader who want to be the difference. Do join us and do partner with us, and there are different ways of partnering with us. As part of our helping build more women leaders, We run a lot of programs. There are programs for corporate women leaders, for senior women and middle-level women. We've started running programs for women entrepreneurs. You heard in the previous panel, the We Scale program, where we help to unleash the potential of all the women entrepreneurs who aspire to build their own businesses. We are also running programs, mentoring programs for young girls and senior professionals so that they find equal footing in this world. So moving on, we cannot do this by ourselves. We cannot create all these platforms of change of our programs, of our thought leadership by ourselves. We need a big collaboration with different organizations, different partnerships, and change makers who have been with us in this journey, who have been helping us to move forward. If you can move to the team page, we would like to showcase the leaders, the change makers who are part of our movement. So as you see, we are a small team, but we are supported by this amazing set of leaders who are part of our advisory council. And you will see both Radha and Francois's faces there. And they are the ones who give us the energy, the drive, the thought leadership, and also the hard work to make this happen. We have, again, a very eminent advisory boards. These are global leaders who've held top leadership positions in organizations and who believe in this change. All of them are in this because they are completely committed to creating this new world, which is an Equiverse, where women have equal voice and women can be feminine and have equal voice. As Francois said, we do not have to fit the mold that is built currently for women who want to be, aspire to be leaders. So this is where we draw our energy from, and we have a network of many others, leaders, and as we call them, our ripple makers, who are speakers in our programs, who are mentors for these women leaders, who are people we bounce our thoughts with, and they go back and they impact in their own ecosystem the change that we want to bring about in the world. So that's a little bit about what we are, where we are aiming to go, and we will do this journey with all these ripple creators and many more of them who we are not listed here or can't see here. And so Radha, so that's my dream, that's my aspiration, that in the next 5 to 7 years, we create many such ripples, that we actually bring to life that depiction of the Equiverse which Francois just showed us.
And Ipsita, with your energy, I'm sure it'll, that ripple will become a tsunami and bring the change, bring the Equiverse we all want very quickly.
Thank you, Radha. I really hope so. And I really hope for all of us to sort of continue working together like this and, generating new innovative ideas as to how best can we collaborate and how best can we reach out to all those millions of women and men who want to be part of this change. Yeah. And what can we do to make it happen? Yeah. So with that, I want to thank you. Are there any questions for us? I don't see any. Okay. There's one question which has come in. So it says, and maybe Francois, you can take it since you are the strong proponent. It says that what we say is seems like a far-fetched dream. Will we ever get there?
I'm a dreamer, so one way or another, I'm winning the prize. If it doesn't happen in reality, it happens in my imagination. I agree that it is a very far-fetched dream, and there are many mountains to move. But I think that if we want to do it, we can do it. And in fact, I believe that there's a lot more has been achieved than seems visible to the eye at first. And if you look at it carefully, there are so many indicators that the tide is going this way and the movement is happening much faster than we think it is. And I think it will be essentially led by the people. The people will want to have this world, and we have to realize that the world we live in now is not sustainable. The systems we are living by are not sustainable, and we are in imminent danger of disappearing as humanity. So definitely, I think that either we succeed in changing fast enough, or we won't be around, so it won't matter anymore. So, you know, we don't have a choice. We have to try our best to make the changes that are required, and we cannot make change without making change. And obviously not everybody is going to like it. Not everybody is going to be in favor of it. But at the end of the day, if we don't have a really profound change, the planet is not going to keep us around.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. And, you know, like you, Francois, I'm also a dreamer. Otherwise, I would not have probably left my very comfortable corporate job and, you know, working here. I'm an ever optimist on this issue. And when I look at, you know, what's happening out there in the world and the data and all that is coming through, even the World Economic Forum was predicting that we will get gender parity in less than 100 years, you know, about a year or 2 years ago. It had come down to much lower, and there was substantial progress going on. And some of the countries are doing amazingly great work in terms of building the gender parity.
It would be nice to start with.
Unfortunately, sorry, we got some disturbance from somewhere, but yeah, unfortunately, the pandemic has pushed that backward a little bit, and their report now says that it's going to take us longer to get there. But, you know, being an optimist, I feel the change is in our hands. If we all are determined, we can again reverse that whole trend, and we can again move on a faster track to bring about this Equiverse, the gender equal world that we want to see. And that was the purpose of, you know, getting so many brilliant minds together as part of this conference from different parts of the world, talking about different ways we can make this world equitable. What are partnerships between private, public sectors? What can corporate organizations do? What can grassroots do? What can we in our individual homes do to be equal partners? We've listened to an array of such speakers. So, and I know that we are not the only ones who are talking about it. There are many, many agencies across the world, many, many organizations across the world who are grappling with these issues, who are doing a lot of stuff around this issue. So I am very optimistic that we will get there, and we will move there before we are extinct, Francois. So,
Absolutely.
And
I think it's also, yeah. I think it's also important to not label it far-fetched. The moment we start thinking of it as far-fetched, it becomes far-fetched. Whereas, you know, as I'm a coach, and one of the things that we do in coaching is encourage people to dream and then break that dream down into goals. And, you know, if we all put our hearts and minds into it, if each of us believe and do little things that we can, watch out for our own beliefs, our own attitudes, this can happen, and it can happen much faster than 100 years.
I think we can quote Nelson Mandela here, who said, "It always seems impossible until it's done."
Yes, yes.
That's right. That's right. And we can quote Gandhiji here by saying, "Be the change you want to see in the world."
Absolutely.
So let's all become this change that we want to see. Let's all commit to that one thing that we will do differently from tomorrow, and let's make it happen. So with that, I would really like to thank both Radha and Francois, not just for today, not just for this session, but for undying commitment that you have shown to this whole cause, and how you're available to us morning, night, and day, whenever we need, whenever we have a question. So thank you so much for your support on this continuing journey.
Thank you.
Ipsita,
Anytime.
working
Thank you.
to inspire us.
Thank you, everybody. And I think the website looks so good. So hopefully it goes live in the early part of January next year, and we'll all wait for that eagerly. And hopefully, I think everybody commits to a change, Ipsita, like you said. So that's something that we look forward to. Thank you for all your time, Ipsita, Radha, Francois, and for everybody watching. We will go live on our valedictory session in the next 4 minutes. So we will see you all in 4 minutes. And thank you, Radha, Francois, and Ipsita.